Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Today we're going to talk about the one thing that's unfolding that I think is making Bitcoin and crypto unstoppable, even at a time when it might seem like it's facing a lot of challenges. And I'm going to run you through the way that money works and that balance of power, give you a few real world examples of things that are occurring around the globe that are pushing more people into crypto. So let's get into it. A lot of you know that back in the day, real money was hard assets, gold or silver, real estate, shells, all that sort of thing throughout time. And we've really moved away from that system that in a lot of ways gave the end user a lot of power. Now we know that crypto and Bitcoin empowers the end user, but let's walk through the current power structure with fiat-backed money, which is not backed by anything other than governments and faith in the currency, I guess. So central banks get to determine the interest rate, they get to determine how much money needs to be printed, that sort of thing, and they really control the currency for whatever region that they're in. Now, a lot of people are arguing that if we have another downturn, they're going to be forced to take interest rates negative and print a lot of money, devalue the currency. Obviously, that makes crypto a really attractive option. We then move on to banks. Again, a lot of power, super profitable, and all they really do is charge us for using money and payments. It's a very rent-seeking based business model, I guess you can say. So we know that they get to lend out loans and charge us interest and that sort of thing, but they also control the SWIFT interbank sort of settlement system. And there's a lot of talk at the moment about how other countries want to create their own settlement systems. The US has got too much power with the US dollar being the reserve currency and all that sort of thing as well. So as those tensions heat up, there's more moves away towards other currencies as well, which ties back to crypto later on. We then get to Wall Street, huge balance of power. I've deliberately got these three above the regulators because I think that's the reality these days. Wall Street gets to privatize the profits, get huge bonuses, and then if anything happens like the GFC, they socialize the losses. Now, low interest rates have forced a lot of people to invest in all these different products. And again, these guys are the beneficiaries. They make a fee anytime there's money flowing through those funds, and they get to manage everyone's money. So next up, we've got the regulators. And lately, a lot of people are arguing that they're not really doing their job to the best of their ability with what's happening around us. But their job is really to monitor what's happening. And this is where it gets really interesting with crypto. And this week, we've heard about the Financial Action Task Force. Now, they're a non-government organisation, but they do recommend changes to countries and governments and so on about how to regulate crypto. And what they're proposing at the moment is that any payment over $1,000 from an exchange needs to have a lot more data about who it's going to, where it's come from, all that sort of information as well. And there's rumors out there that, who's in charge of the Financial Action Task Force. It's this US versus China battle again as president and vice president of that task force, and a few other rumors which I'll get to at the end. But stable coins and the privatization of them is where this conversation gets super interesting in just a little bit. We then move on to countries, and we know that they collect taxes. A lot of the time that ends up with going into debt when they spend more than they're collecting, but they're trying to keep the economy going. Now, these days, there's a lot of tensions in a country like Italy because they're being told by the EU that they've spent too much money. So you've got to raise taxes on your citizens and you've got to cut back spending. But a lot of economists like Steve Keen that we have on the channel argue that pulls money out of the economy and actually slows your economy down and makes things worse. And this is why Italy have been kicking this can down the road for years now. It's why, we see Japan going sideways for 20 years now. So this week in Italy, we saw proposed confiscation of wealth from safety deposit boxes to the tune of 15%. So you don't think that is going to lead people to Bitcoin and crypto, as well as a time when they're talking about issuing a parallel currency. So mini bots, it's like a short-term bond or treasury note saying, if you're not going to let us spend money, we'll create our own currency and spend it to pay each other. And that is going to really fracture the EU and different countries if one country does that. And, we've already seen Brexit. God, it's just what a time to be alive, hey guys, with all this happening in front of us. But it's the perfect storm for crypto. Finally, we get to different companies. Now, businesses rely on currency as a way to accept payment. Again, crypto is changing that in a lot of ways. And a lot of companies now are launching their own reward system or their own tokens, their own currency. And this is becoming a really attractive option that takes demand, away from these traditionally issued currencies. There's also a lot of companies that have made an entire business model out of being payment processors. So not quite banks, but think Western Union, PayPal, Stripe. We now have the Geminis of the world, Binance. Everyone wants to launch their own stablecoin because they can make the money. They can become a mini bank and charge fees and whatnot as well. So that's why we've seen the explosion of stablecoins. This was something that I predicted last year, that we're going to see a move away from tethered dominance. And we've certainly seen that already throughout 2019. And as I said, I think it's only going to become more and more popular. We've seen the petro, maybe central banks start to issue their own currencies. Some countries might just take it upon themselves to do it rather than even rely on a central bank and whatnot. So in the middle here, I do have those stablecoins in red because they're the centralized ones, which they're a wolf in sheep's clothing. They come across as a cryptocurrency, and Facebook is the prime example of this. Now, Facebook collect all our data and monetize it, but since they've launched Facebook Coin, today we've got the news out that Visa and MasterCard are joining them, Uber's joining them. So Visa and MasterCard are threatened. They know they're a payment processor, and some of these biggest tech companies in the world now want to become banks. And as I said, guys, this whole system almost puts them above the regulators, and this is why they're being grilled at the moment in Congress. And I think this is only going to continue. But remember, they want this balance of power. They're trying to get up towards this end of the system, and I don't think Facebook is who we want to let have more power necessarily. So we do have decentralized stablecoins, and that's really important as well. And this is why Bitcoin and crypto are in green down the bottom, because we have that power if we have a decentralized stablecoin. Exchanges I've also got in red. They're obviously the gateway where the end user has to spend their money to get into the crypto ecosystem. But if you've got your money on exchange, it's not yours, not your keys, not your coins. Make sure you're storing your crypto safely. I've always got the links in the description if you need a hardware wallet. STOs, another thing that's garnered a lot of excitement, but really, guys, they are a security. They're regulated. These are just investment products. Maybe it's going to open up Wall Street to the end user a little bit and give them a little bit more power, but I'm being really wary of these. I don't think you're going to be able to store your own and trade your own freely on a DEX or anything at the moment. It's going to be really tightly regulated in that space. So tying this back to crypto here, those examples that I just gave you are leading more and more people to cryptocurrency. Cryptos also, and tokenization, has allowed for the rebirth in a lot of ways of gold and silver. If we know that these things are tokenized and physically backed, that's better than not knowing if there's any gold in Fort Knox and that sort of thing as well. So I think it's going to bring back sound money in a number of different ways as well. Now, obviously, these stable coins, these wolf in sheep's clothing as I'm describing them, I think they're going to lead more people to Bitcoin and crypto. When they're looking at their Facebook coin each day and it's a stable coin at $1 and their friends are all excited about their Bitcoin and their cryptos, I think it's just going to be this natural progression. And if you know your crypto history, it was back in 2014-15 when a lot of things had gone wrong for Bitcoin. Mt. Gox had happened and whatnot. And I think that that's when it would have died if it was going to. But banks stepped up and said, this blockchain technology, there's something here. And they kind of legitimized it. And it gave Bitcoin that fresh lease of life when people realized that, hey, it's not just blockchain, it's all these other features that make Bitcoin so great. And they're doing the same thing again now. Facebook and JP Morgan, everyone's saying how great cryptocurrency is. We're launching our own coin. And crypto and blockchain is just going to be pushed in everyone's face as these companies try to increase their profits. But it's going to lead people. I think they're again making the mistake of leading people towards Bitcoin and taking control of their own wealth. Now, this is where decentralized finance and DEXs become really important. Think about the way you can take out a loan now with Maker without a bank, how you can actually exchange without having to pay Wall Street a fee every time, and how you can have privacy from companies if you don't want them to know every single thing that you are spending money on, and if you want to protect your wealth away from that confiscation of countries and whatnot. So there's so many things that are now pushing people down towards this end of the spectrum and giving them their power back. But the last thing I do want to mention are the headwinds. So I did a video last year about privacy being the number one headwind for crypto. And I think privacy coins are going to have a super tough time. They're going to be cracked down on by countries, regulators, and Wall Street. And so I don't think privacy coins are necessarily a good investment, and we've already seen a lot of those tumble when there's been announced delistings. But I think privacy is something that's important that we still fight for. So with Bitcoin and Ethereum, Litecoin proposing implementing privacy, that is where the real battle for freedom and liberty is going to really kick in. And I see this as just such a fascinating debate, but I think it's too late to put the genie back in the bottle. And a lot of these companies are going to be pushing, the regulators in a lot of ways for different cryptocurrencies as well. So it's no longer the decentralized movement fighting the battle to some degree. So we do have that in our favor, and maybe it's a couple of years until Bitcoin does implement that privacy. And again, it's just gained so much traction in so many countries that it's really too late to put that genie back in the bottle. If you do like these sort of videos, guys, I do 2 of these a week for our members. So if you want to become part of our community and discuss topics like this, head over to nuggetsnews.com.au. I hope you've enjoyed that video, how money works, that power structure, and why crypto is so important going forward. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll talk to you again soon. Cheers.